EVA Airways Corporation. Traditional Chinese, EE. Simplified Chinese, EEH. Pinyin, Kang cubed ng Hang Kang. PH Angstrom E Jar Tia cubed ng Ha Cent ng Kong, is a Taiwanese airline based at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport near Taipei, Taiwan, operating passenger and dedicated cargo services to over 40 international destinations in Asia, Australia, Europe and North America. EVA Air is largely privately owned and flies a fully international route network. It is the second largest Taiwanese airline. EVA Air is headquartered in Luzhu, Taoyuan County. Since its founding in 1989 as an affiliate of shipping conglomerate Evergreen Group, EVA Air has expanded to include air cargo, airline catering, ground handling, and aviation engineering services. Its cargo arm, EVA Air Cargo, links with the Evergreen worldwide shipping network on sea and land. Its domestic and regional subsidiary, UNI Air, operates a medium and short-haul network based in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. EVA Air is the sixth safest international airline in the world, with no hull losses or fatalities since its establishment. EVA Air operates a mixed fleet of Airbus, Boeing, and McDonnell Douglas aircraft, with Airbus A330, Boeing 747, and Boeing 777 airliners primarily used on passenger routes, along with Boeing 747 and MD-11 freighters used on cargo routes. The airline was one of the first carriers to introduce the premium economy class, which it debuted in 1991. EVA Air's slogan is "Sharing the World, Flying Together." History, launch. In September 1988, during the 20th anniversary celebration of Evergreen Marine Corporation (1) registered trademark S founding, company chairman Chángróng Hángkōng announced his companion (1) registered trademark S intentions to establish Taiwan (1) registered trademark S first private international airline. The opportunity to create a major Taiwanese airline had just arisen following a decision by the Taiwanese government to liberalize the County (1) registered trademark S air transportation system. Government requirements still mandated global experience and financial capital requirements for any company seeking permission to initiate international airline service from Taiwan. Upon recipient of regulatory approval, EVA Airways Corporation was formally established in March 1989. The airline was originally to be called Evergreen Airways, however this was deemed too similar to the unrelated Evergreen International Cargo Airline. In October 1989, the newly formed EVA Airways Corporation placed a $3.6 billion order for 26 aircraft from Boeing and McDonnell Douglas, including Boeing 747-400 and MD-11 airliners. Operations began on July 1, 1991 with a small fleet of EVA Air Boeing 767-300ER aircraft featuring business and economy class seating. Initial destinations from Taipei were Bangkok, Seoul, Jakarta, Singapore, and Kuala Lumpur. By the end of the year, the EVA Air network had expanded to include additional cities in East Asia and its first European destination, Vienna. First-year revenues reached $40 million. Expansion in the 1990s. In 1992, EVA Air received the first of its Boeing 747-400 aircraft on order, and launched its premium economy class, Economy Deluxe, on its 747 trans-Pacific flights to Los Angeles, beginning in December of that year. EVA Air's premium economy cabin, one of the first in the airline industry, featured a wider 2-4-2 abreast configuration, legrests, individual seatback video, and enhanced meal services. EVA Air's Economy Deluxe cabin proved popular with the traveling public. For international services, EVA Air's 747s were configured with 104 premium economy seats as part of a 370-seat, four-class cabin, in addition to first, business and economy classes. In 1993, EVA Air added flights to Seattle, New York, Bangkok and Vienna with a Boeing 747-400. By 1994, EVA Air was providing regular service to 22 destinations worldwide, and carrying over 3 million passengers annually. In 1995, the airline posted its first profit on revenues of $1.05 billion, 1 year ahead of schedule. Internationally, EVA Air's rapid expansion and increased passenger volume was boosted by its safety record, in contrast to its primary competitor, China Airlines. In addition to receiving IOSA certification, EVA Air in 1997 achieved simultaneous official ISO 9002 certification in the areas of passenger, cargo, and maintenance services. Dedicated EVA Air cargo operations began in April 1995, with the first weekly McDonnell Douglas MD-11 freighter flights to Taipei, Singapore, Penang, San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. EVA Air Cargo's fleet was expanded to 5 freighters by the end of the year. Previously, EVA Air Cargo operations mainly relied on passenger aircraft cargo space. In the mid-Euro 1990s, EVA Air expanded into the domestic Taiwan market by acquiring shares in Chángróng International Airlines, followed by Great China Airlines and Taiwan Airways. On July 1, 1998, all 3 carriers, as well as EVA's existing domestic operations, merged under the UNI Air title. UNI Air became EVA Air's domestic intra-Taiwanese subsidiary, operating short-haul flights out of its base in Kaohsiung, Taiwan's southern port and second-largest city. Maturation in the early 2000s. In 2000, EVA Air embarked on its first major long-haul fleet renewal. The airline became one of the launch customers for the Boeing 777-300ER, ordering 4 aircraft plus 8 options. At the same time, the airline placed 3 orders for the Boeing 777-200LR. In January 2001, EVA Air ordered its first Airbus aircraft, the A330-200. The Boeing 777 aircraft were intended for United States and European services, while the Airbus A330 aircraft were intended for regional Asian routes. In 2001, EVA Air began listing public stock offerings on the Taiwan Stock Exchange. Initially, 1% of the company's shares was offered over the counter, with 1/4 held by parent company Evergreen Marine Corporation and EVA Air employees, respectively. In 2002, EVA Air underwent internal corporate reforms, with staff reductions and streamlined management. This culminated a process which had begun in 1997, when the Asian financial crisis began affecting profitability. The 2002-2003 SARS contagion also affected passenger traffic for medium-haul flights in Southeast Asia, while long-haul flights to North America, Japan, and Europe were less affected. In 2004, EVA Air converted its remaining 8 options for Boeing 777-300ERs into firm orders. The first Boeing 777-300ER entered service as EVA Air's new flagship aircraft in July 2005. With the arrival of its new Boeing 777s, EVA Air launched a comprehensive revamp of its cabins, introducing lie-flat seats in its new premium Laurel business class cabin, and upgrading its premium economy product to the new elite class cabin. The airline's A330s were introduced with 2-class premium Laurel and economy cabins. In December 2005, EVA Air and its associated divisions had 5,098 employees, and the airline's network spanned 40 passenger destinations worldwide, with additional cargo destinations. Repositioning in the late 2000s, in 2007, EVA Air announced a non-stop Taipei to New York service, to be operated with its new long-range Boeing 777-300ERs. At the same time, the airline withdrew passenger service from Taipei to Paris. On October 31, 2008, EVA Air announced a resumption of Taipei to Paris service with thrice-weekly passenger flights beginning January 21, 2009. In 2008, the airline also announced the suspension of services to Auckland. The carrier also prepared to increase direct flights to China, after initiating weekly charter flights in July 2008 following changes to the three links travel agreements. For the 2007-2008 period, EVA Air coped with a 34% surge in fuel prices, which contributed to a $61.2 million 2007 loss. In August 2008, EVA Air reported a second quarterly loss due to increased fuel costs. In response, the airline implemented cost-saving measures, including flight schedule reductions and fee increases. In early 2008, EVA Air's business office in El Segundo, California, announced a major staff reduction, with over half the staff advised that they would no longer be employed by May 2008. Functions performed by those local staff were shifted to Taiwan by half, such as the reservation center. EVA Air carried 6.2 million passengers in 2007, and employed 4,800 staff members as of April 2008. The carrier returned to profitability in the first quarter of 2009, with a $5.9 million net gain. In August 2010, EVA Air was named one of the top 10 international airlines in Travel Plus Leisure's World's Best Awards. Recent developments: in 2010, EVA Air released a news flash about their service to Toronto, which began on March 29, 2010. In November 2010, EVA Air began non-stop flights connecting the inner-city Taipei Songshan and Tokyo Haneda airports. In 2010, Chang Kuo-wei, son of Chang Yong-fa, returned to serve as EVA Air's president, and the carrier recorded increased sales and yearly profits. In early 2011, the carrier announced that it had applied for Airline Alliance membership with Star Alliance, and later that year clarified that it was in talks to join either Oneworld or Star Alliance by 2013. In June 2011, the carrier began non-stop flights from Taipei to Guam, and in October 2011 the carrier announced non-stop service from New York to Taipei. On March 27, 2012, EVA Air announced that it would join Star Alliance in 2013. On September 24, 2012, EVA Air signed a partnership with Amadeus IT Group Alta Copywriter Suite for its Alta Copywriter Revenue Management System. On June 18, 2013, EVA Air became a full member of Star Alliance. Corporate Affairs and Identity Management. As of 2011, EVA Air's corporate leadership is headed by Chairman Lin Bushu and President Chang Kuo-wei. EVA Air's president plays a primary role in managing EVA's business operations. Other members of EVA Air's board manage support and services of the company, including its catering and maintenance divisions. Related areas outside EVA Air's direct management include UNI Holidays, Evergreens of Asia Cubeden Travel Service and Evergreen Laurel Hotels. EVA Air has its headquarters, known as the EVA Air Building, in Luzhu, Taiwan County. EVA Air is largely privately owned. Primary shareholders are Evergreen Marine Corporation, Evergreen founder Chang Yong-fa, and Evergreen International Corporation. Foreign investors and individual stockholders combined hold 28% of EVA Air shares. Cultural details: EVA Air has differentiated its onboard service by using Taiwanese, Mandarin, Hakka, English, and other languages for its in-flight cabin announcements. The order of Hokkien and Mandarin has varied since the carrier's launch. EVA Air has also used Taiwanese folk songs in its boarding music, including an orchestral form of Longing for Spring Wind performed by the Evergreen Group's Evergreen Symphony Orchestra. The carrier's aircraft and employee color scheme has at times been interpreted by observers as support for the Pan-Green coalition of Taiwanese politics, mainly due to Evergreen founder Chang Yong-fa's political views in the 2000 presidential election, but this association changed following Chang's support of the Pan-Blue coalition in the 2004 presidential election. The carrier has further abstained from displaying official markings of Taiwan on its aircraft, and received expedited approval of international landing rights as a result. Branding, name and logo: the name EVA was taken from two letters of Evergreen, and the first letter of Airways. The name EVA is always spelled in capital letters. The airline uses the logo of its parent company, using green with an orange trim. Livery and uniforms. The standard EVA Air livery utilizes dark green, signifying durability, and orange, representing technological innovation. The tail globe logo is intended to represent stability and reliability, and its positioning on the tail, with one corner off the edge, represents service innovation. The EVA Air livery was updated in 2002, adding a larger typeface and the use of green covering the aircraft below the window line. The tail design and logo remained unchanged. Since 2003, EVA Air has adopted its current uniform, featuring dark green dresses with crop jackets. Chief pursers are distinguished by orange highlights, gold bands, and orange stripes. Flight attendants feature green trim and white stripes. The current uniform replaced the former green and orange necktie ensembles used in EVA Air's first 12 years. Marketing slogans. EVA Air has used different slogans throughout its operational history. The first slogan appeared on English advertising in the United States, while the 1996 and 2003 versions were introduced internationally in both English and Mandarin. In 2005, a second Sharing the World slogan was introduced to complement the arrival of the airline's Boeing 777s. EVA Air slogans have been as follows. Divisions, EVA Air Cargo. Founded concurrently with the passenger operations of EVA Air, EVA Air Cargo operates facilities in Europe, Asia, and North America. Its cargo operations have diversified to include transportation of high-tech equipment and special care items such as museum artwork and live zoological specimens. EVA Air has stated its goal of achieving a 50/50 split in revenues between its passenger and cargo operations. The airline's cargo operations are mainly operated via a fleet of Boeing 747-400, MD-11 dedicated freighters, Boeing 747-400 combi aircraft, and additional belly cargo space on passenger aircraft. Following the establishment of its A330 fleet and the introduction of Boeing 777 long-haul aircraft, the airline converted some of its older Boeing 747-400 passenger aircraft to freighters to meet cargo market demands. EVA Air Cargo established its European Cargo Center in Brussels in 2003 and opened its Southern China Cargo Center in Hong Kong in 2006. As of 2007, EVA Air Cargo has 43 weekly cargo flights to London, Vienna, Brussels and U.S. destinations including Los Angeles, Dallas-Fort Worth, Chicago, Atlanta and New York. The carrier also has code shares with international airlines including Air Nippon, British Airways World Cargo, Austrian Airlines and Lufthansa Cargo. In recent years, the airline has focused its North American cargo operations solely on point-to-point routes. By 2004, EVA Air Cargo ranked among the world's top 10 largest air freight companies. Industry publication Air Cargo World ranked EVA Air Cargo 6th out of 50 in its 2008 Air Cargo Excellence Survey, a measure of cargo service customer servicing performance. In 2008, EVA Air handled the transport of 2 Chinese pandas, donated as a gift to the Taipei Zoo. Maintenance and support. EVA Air service divisions further include pilot and cabin attendant training facilities, along with its Evergreen Sky Catering and Evergreen Airline Services ground support divisions. EVA Air has partnered with General Electric since 1998 to operate the Evergreen Aviation Technologies Corporation, a heavy maintenance and aircraft overhaul service. Evergreen Aviation Technologies Corporation provides safety, repair, and refit services for EVA Air, other airlines' aircraft, and has handled the modification of 4 Boeing 747 large cargo freighter aircraft for Boeing's 787 Dreamliner program. Destinations. Most EVA Air flights originate out of Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport, its main hub near Taipei, Taiwan. At Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport, EVA Air's flight operations are concentrated in Terminal 2. Additionally, EVA Air and its domestic subsidiary UNI Air operate numerous flights out of Kaohsiung International Airport. A focus city for EVA Air outside Taiwan is Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport, with westerly connections to all its European destinations except for Paris. Through the mid-2000s, EVA Air's route network was affected by the political status of Taiwan, which has historically limited access for Taiwanese airlines to Europe and certain Asian countries. Because Taiwanese carriers did not have direct access to China, EVA Air has used Hong Kong and Macau as interline destinations. EVA Air operated regular charter flights to China in 2008. The airline began regularly scheduled, direct cross-strait operations in December 2008, following the restoration of direct travel links. Code-share agreements. EVA Air has existing code-share agreements with over a dozen carriers, which include the following. Fleet. The EVA Air fleet consists of the following aircraft. Special liveries. In October 2005, EVA Air launched a campaign with Japanese company Sanrio to create the Hello Kitty jet, featuring the popular Japanese character. Using the airline's A330-200, the exterior adopted a livery of Hello Kitty characters. A year later, the airline launched a second Hello Kitty jet. The aircraft featured a Hello Kitty motif on exterior and interior fittings and features. Both planes were used to serve Japanese destinations, and from July 2007, also Taipei-Hong Kong routes. The original Hello Kitty livery was retired in 2009, but in 2011 EVA Air announced its return in redesigned form to mark the carrier's 20th anniversary and renew interest in Japanese tourism. For this occasion, EVA Air had ordered brand-new Airbus A330-300s to be painted in an all-new Hello Kitty livery. After the introduction of the refreshed Hello Kitty livery on 3 EVA Air A330s, EVA Air decided to introduce 2 additional Hello Kitty A330 jets, launched in May and June 2012. The 4th and 5th Hello Kitty jets are known as Hello Kitty Speed Puff and Hello Kitty Happy Music respectively. In July 2006, EVA Air's third new Boeing 777-300ER was Boeing center stage at the 2006 Farnborough Air Show in a static display. The aircraft, with its special 777-300ER rainbow livery, was leased by Boeing for a week to be presented at the show. The first 3 EVA Air Boeing 777 aircraft featured this livery, which were phased out in 2013. For the 2010 Taipei International Floral Exposition, EVA Air debuted a floral-inspired design for its A330-200 aircraft, highlighting the carrier's official sponsorship of the event. The Flora Expo cabin concept introduced interior products such as in-flight meals with a flower motif. Fleet plans. EVA Air's long-haul fleet is based on the Boeing 777-300ER, with the carrier's initial order for 15 all delivered by 2011. In 2006, the airline decided against its existing 3 Boeing 777-200LR orders, and the 777-200LR orders were converted into 777-300ER orders. Despite the airline's focus on cargo operations, EVA Air in 2007 indicated it had no current plans to acquire the Boeing 777 freighter. Instead, with the arrival of additional passenger Boeing 777 aircraft, EVA Air transferred more Boeing 747 aircraft to freighter operations. In late 2010, EVA Air indicated it planned to lease 3 A330-300 aircraft for Asian routes in 2011. In mid-2011, EVA Air announced plans to acquire further 777-300ERs to complete the replacement of his 747-400 aircraft on Europe and US routes, along with A321 series narrow-body jets to replace its MD-90 fleet. On May 8, 2012, EVA Air signed orders with Boeing for 3 additional 777-300ERs, and also announced its lease of 4 more 777-300ERs from GECAS Services, check-in, at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport. EVA Air has introduced the EVA Air check-in kiosks at T2, Counter 6A, allowing passengers to check in and print their boarding passes electronically, since December 2009. The kiosks are currently available at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport and Taipei Songshan Airport. Over time, EVA will install these counters in airports in China and other international EVA Air destinations. Previously, if passengers were to check in for an EVA Air flight, they would have to go to an airline representative at the counters. Board. EVA Air offers 3 classes of service on its long-haul flights: Royal Laurel/Premium Laurel, Elite Class, and Economy Class. All cabins feature satellite phones, audio-video on-demand entertainment, SMS service, and in select Boeing 777 cabins, mood lighting. Domestic and short-haul international services flown by EVA Air and UNI Air MD-90 aircraft also feature a short-haul business class. In the latter half of 2007, EVA Air's Boeing 747-400 fleet was upgraded to feature the airline's latest seating classes. The addition of Premium Laurel class on the Boeing 747-400 succeeded the previous Super First and Super Business cabins. In early 2012, EVA Air officials unveiled a redesigned Royal Laurel Business Class, including 180-degree, fully flat seats in herringbone layout, which was first introduced on Boeing 777-300ER services in June 2012 between Taipei and New York. Cabin classes. In May 2012, EVA Air announced to introduce a new business class product on select, redesigned Boeing 777-300ER aircraft, Royal Laurel class. The cabin features 38 180-degree lie-flatbed seats in a reverse herringbone configuration pitched to 2,650 wide. Laptop power and multi-port connectors are available at each seat. The Royal Laurel class seating arrangement is in a 1:2:1 abreast arrangement. The airline is offering the service with these redesigned B777s on the TPE-JFK route, and gradually offering the service for LAX, SFO, YYZ, CDG, AMS and LHA routes by 2013. Cabin upgrades are projected to be completed August 2013. Premium Laurel, EVA Air's existing business class cabin, was introduced in 2003 with the A330-200, and expanded to more destinations with the Boeing 777-300ER in 2005 and refitted Boeing 747-400 in 2007. Seats are pitched at 1,549 in Premium Laurel in a pod-style layout, and can convert to an angled lie-flat bed. Laptop power is available. Premium Laurel class seating is in a 2:2:2 abreast arrangement on the Boeing 777, Boeing 747, and A330. In the 747 Combi there are recliner seats with 1,120 seat pitch and there is no in-seat power. Elite Class, EVA Air's premium economy product, is offered in a dedicated cabin on the Boeing 777 and 747. Elite Class has wider seating and legroom, and a seat similar to short-haul business class with an extendable leg rest, 970 to 1020 pitch, adjustable winged headrests, and laptop power. Service levels in Elite Class are similar to Economy Class, but food and amenities are improved, along with the seating. Elite passengers further receive an amenity kit on most flights. This class is equipped with all B777-300ER, B747-400, B747-400 Combi models. Economy class is available on all EVA Air aircraft, featuring 840 pitch, touchscreen personal entertainment screens, sliding seat cushions, and adjustable winged headrests. Each seat is also equipped with a personal handset satellite telephone which can be used with a credit card. Economy seating is in 3:3:3 arrangement on the Boeing 777, 3:4:3 as well as 3:3 on the MD-90, A321 and Boeing 747 upper deck, and 2:4:2 on the A330. In economy class of the Boeing 747-400 Combi, A321 and MD-90, there is no personal entertainment. In-flight entertainment, EVA Air's audio-video on-demand entertainment system, Star Gallery, is available in all classes, except Boeing 747-400 Combi and MD-90 aircraft. This system has 40 movies and short features, interactive games, and over 100 music albums. Programs are mainly in Mandarin and English, with some selections in Japanese, German and French. Sky Gallery entertainment categories include such areas as Sky Hollywood, Sky Concert Hall, Kids World, among others. The Panasonic Avionics 3000i system can display Mandarin, English, or Japanese text. Since 2005, customers can also send SMS text messages and emails to the ground using their personal handsets and seatback screens. On Boeing 747-400 Combi, non-AVOD personal entertainment screens are available in Super Business Class and Evergreen Deluxe. Seatback video is not available on the MD-90s and in economy class on Boeing 747-400 Combi aircraft. Voyager's EVA's in-flight magazine and features articles in English, Mandarin and Japanese. EVA Air's duty-free shopping brochure, EVA Air Sky Shop, is included at each seat in either paper nor video form, with sales occurring in flight, typically after meal services. EVA Air also stocks a supply of newspapers and magazine publications on international flights, selection depending on route. Catering, EVA Air offers a variety of meals on intercontinental routes, depending on seat class, destination and flight length. Western and Eastern menu selections are typically offered, including seasonal menu selections varied by destination. Special meal offerings can be requested in each class during booking, including children's, religious, vegetarian, and other meals. In Royal Laurel and Premium Laurel class, passengers can pre-order gourmet entry or copyright S, depending on destination, including specialities produced by Din Tai Fung, the award-winning Taiwanese restaurant. Premium Laurel cabins on the Boeing 777 also feature an in-flight refreshment bar, and European wine selections are served. EVA Air Lounges, EVA Air operates airline lounges, under the brand name EVA Air Lounge, in major destination airports. Passengers eligible to enter these facilities include first and business class passengers, Infinity Mileage Lands Diamond, Gold, and Silver card holders, Star Alliance Gold members, and airlines who have contracted the lounge facilities. EVA Air's 4 flagship lounges, located at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport are, the Garden, the Infinity, the Star, the Club by EVA Air. EVA Air lounge services typically include refreshments, business facilities, and television and reading entertainment. The lounge at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport, Terminal 2, has separate eating facilities at different levels. A check-in facility is reserved for Diamond card holders. EVA Air also operates EVA Air lounges at Bangkok International Airport, San Francisco International Airport, and Kaohsiung International Airport. Infinity Mileage Lands, EVA Air's frequent flyer program, Infinity Mileage Lands, awards members points based on miles traveled and class of service. Infinity Mileage Lands points are redeemable for upgrades and free tickets, and can also be accumulated through credit card use, rental car agencies, Evergreen Laurel hotels, and other participating services. Membership benefits include a dedicated reservation line, Evergreen Lounge access, additional baggage allowance with priority handling, and discounts on car rentals and hotels. Membership into the program is free. The program is divided into 4 tiers, Green, Silver, Gold, and Diamond. Infinity Mileage Lands privileges are additive by membership tier, with higher tiers including all benefits listed for prior tiers. The program accepts miles flown on partner airlines and Star Alliance partners such as All Nippon Airways and United Airlines, provided that the flights are booked and logged according to EVA Air frequent flyer rules. Co-branded American Express, Citibank, and Diners Club cards can also earn miles. Qualification levels and general benefits are listed on the EVA Air website. Safety. To date, EVA Air has not had any aircraft losses or passenger fatalities in its operational history. As of January 21, 2014, EVA Air is ranked number 5 out of more than 800 individual airlines by Aero International, a German monthly devoted to civil aviation. See also: Air transport in Taiwan, List of airports in Taiwan, List of companies of Taiwan, Transportation in Taiwan. References. External links: Official website, EVA Air mobile website, archived website at the Wayback Machine.